I'm very happy to have you today too on the Health Zone. My name is Dr. Hannah Lisa and you're welcome to the Health Zone of Home Affairs. Today we're discussing chickenpox. I know most of you have seen people with chickenpox, so let's just add a little to the very much that I'm sure you already know. Chickenpox is a viral disease, it's contagious, it's caused by varicella zoster virus, and it presents as an itchy rash. What happens is that it can be spread when you go into contact with the person or by air. I'm sure that's what most of you don't know about. That when somebody who has chickenpox coughs or sneezes, you can get chickenpox through the droplets. There are other signs and symptoms to look out for. Well, of course, the telltale sign is the rash, but there are other things to look out for. There are certain people that present with fever, headache, they feel like vomiting, they're generally so tired. People present with that when they have chickenpox. Now for the rash appears in 3 different forms. So we could have the bumps, that's papules as we call it. They are bumps, pink or red bumps. Then we could have the vesicles or blisters. So you realize that there are some that have fluids in them. They are fluid-filled blisters. Then we have the crusts and the scabs. Those ones are when the blisters break off and they are healing, there are hardened parts on them, and then you see that on the skin. But you can have somebody who has all these 3 forms of the rash on their body. In fact, that's what happens most of the time. The symptoms too can present 10 to 21 days after you come into contact with somebody with chickenpox, and mostly last from 5 to 10 days. Now, there are some people who are at risk of chickenpox. You'd ask yourself, is everybody at risk? You are at risk if you've never had chickenpox before and if you've never been vaccinated. Once you've had chickenpox before and you've been vaccinated, you are immune. Although there are instances where people who have had it before have it again. But then the good news is that those people, it's milder in them, and then the rash is not as extensive as it is in people who've never had it before. Now, there are some people who are also at risk of complications of chickenpox. I bet you didn't know that chickenpox has complications. Yes, sometimes you can get pneumonia from chickenpox. You can become very dehydrated. Some people have brain inflammation known as encephalitis. What happens in this particular case is that in chickenpox, when it comes to its complications, there are certain people who are more prone to having these ones, and that is newborn babies. That's people who are immunocompromised, people whose immunity has come down. So you realize that these people are either having certain diseases that affect their immunity, like HIV, or they're taking medications like chemotherapy drugs, and this reduces their immunity. Also, pregnant women are at a risk of complications. And when this happens, when you're pregnant and you get chickenpox, you have a child with complications. The child can have low birth weight. The child can have limb abnormalities. That's the problems with the hands and legs when the child is born. So all these things are things to look out for. So for the chickenpox rash, mostly you see it over the entire body. But there are certain instances where it's seen in the throat, in the eyes, in the anal opening, as well as other parts of the body as well. Treatment of chickenpox is aimed at making you comfortable whilst the disease runs its normal course. So you may be given pain medications to relieve you of your pain. You may be giving medications if there's an itch, and if there's a secondary infection associated with the chickenpox or there's a complication, you may need to be hospitalized, and then the particular complication is treated. Thank you very much for joining me on the Health Zone of Home Affairs. My name is Dr. Hannah Lisa. See you next week. Bye.
You're welcome to Home Affairs. My name is Gladys Osei Oredu, and well, we're always grateful that you spend time with us to get to know what are things that concerns the home that we talk about here. It's very important that you are interested in keeping your home right and happy. Yes, and that is what our concern is here. So every Sunday at 3:30, we make sure that we come here to talk about the home and also ensure that you at home or wherever watching us get your bits to take home and dress your home very beautifully. You once again welcome. You just watched chickenpox tidbits from our doctor. So yes, you've been well informed, and so trust me, do not take that for granted, especially where there are children. Yes, I know this story about everybody gets chickenpox once in a lifetime. It could be true, but do not still take it for granted, because it might not come back as chickenpox, but you never know. It could be something else that you still would need care. So please do not take it for granted. Pay attention to the details we have given you, and your life will always be improved. Today, our topic is on women as verbal abusers. Am I Kasao? Try me. Don't try me this afternoon. Our chapter is like that. And well, a lot of men are victims of verbal abuse. Women, we don't have the blow. We may not be able to slap left and right, but our mouth, it's a very powerful weapon. Well, to what extent has this impacted on the various homes? To what extent has this had a toll on the family? To what extent are children and partners alike surviving this kind of abuse from a woman in that home? When we come back, we have our guests who are on standby, and we'll get straight into this topic to delve into the issues. Please don't go away. Let me quickly say thank you to my costumier. Yeah, I should say that's one. It's My Dear Elegance. My Dear Elegance gave me the beautiful dress to wear, and so let me say thank you to her. You can always reach her via her mobile number 0553650883. Let me just take that quickly. 0553650883. You can always reach her, and she has very beautiful collection. You can always feel good in, so do not waste this chance. This afternoon, we've been joined by two august visitors. Well, no, one is august, one is a suspect. So let me welcome this afternoon Reverend Annan. Reverend Annan is with the Universal Gospel Church, and he is a frequent counselor on home affairs. Reverend, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we also have another powerful woman who will help us through this topic. And if I begin to call her accolades, I have to read it. Please, pardon me. Let me read. I would like to read. So we have Nasiba Tahiru Swala. She is a psychologist and educational consultant. I'm not done. She's married with 2 children. She holds a PhD in an NGO studies and community development. She has an MPhil in psychology. She's a postgraduate diploma in education. She has BSc psychology. What else do you want to know? She is a former lecturer at the Islamic University, and currently she is a consultant. If you have this woman talking to you about verbal abuse, and you still think that you won't grab anything to build your home, then you're giving a Reverend and Ajia too much work to do. Please, open up and let's receive the impartation they have for us this afternoon. Welcome, Ajia.
Thank you.
Please, I'll just call you Ajia. Let me feel free. Okay. Yes, so women, I do not like it, but we have been kind of rated as, when it comes to verbal abuse, we are the one. To what extent is this real?
Good afternoon to our viewers.
Good afternoon.
When we talk of verbal abuse, well, let's look at from the main abuse, the physical, then the emotional. Most of the time, when people talk about abuse, their attention is drawn to the physical abuse. But issues of verbal abuse are becoming more prominent this time because of the psychological impact. You see, with the physical abuse, maybe after the wound is healed or the assault, you feel you are fine. But the verbal abuse has a long-lasting psychological effect on the person and the immediate people around him. So we feel that it is something that should be spoken about, because the person is not an isolated individual. If after the home, the work environment is there, the church environment is there. So you can imagine if a husband who has a working relationship with other people, who is also maybe a church elder or a leader in a society is experiencing verbal abuse at home, it is going to have serious impact on these various stages or aspects of his life. Unfortunately, men tend not to report abuse, especially if it's verbal, because of stigmatization and fear of their ego being deflated.
Yeah.
So they tend to keep it to themselves. And if the person doesn't want to talk about it, there is a very low tendency that the person would want to seek help.
So you agree basically that women are verbal abusers?
Yes, stereotypically.
Okay.
By our nature, generally, we have more women being verbally abusive, whilst we have more men being physically abusive.
Okay. Rev?
Yeah. Anyway, good afternoon to your viewers.
Good afternoon, Rev.
Women tend to be verbal abusers because of their nature and how they respond to issues.
Okay.
Women tend to be more emotional. And you see, abuse, verbal abuse, comes under the umbrella of anger management when somebody is angry within and that person begins to show an expression of the anger.
Okay.
So that expression of the anger culminates in certain words that are coming from that person, which are not palatable, which are not decent enough. So when you have people who always tend to respond to emotions in every circumstance, then you begin to have these things quite often coming from women. Men, by our nature, we are not wired in such. We are wired as people who always want to be thinkers of a sort.
Okay.
So they will always want to process the things so much before they come out. But women, it is good. The nature that God blessed women is in fact fantastic. It's intuition and be emotional. But the issue is the balance, where we have to make it relevant into our situation. That's where the missing link comes.
Okay.
In the same way, women tend to communicate very well. I love Delilah.
Okay.
Because Delilah did not take a knife.
Yeah.
But by her words, she was able to convince a Supreme Court judge, a president of a country, a prophet, to reveal every secret about himself. What did he do? She used words.
Sweet ones.
Words. I mean, carefully chosen words, not only sweet words, but carefully chosen words that will meet a certain need. And the man responded by saying that if I don't tell her, I'm going to die. So you just imagine, the question is, what did she do? Pontius Pilate's wife, what did she do? She came to the president and told him, you know what? Be careful about what judgment you pass today, because I've suffered so much about this man. What did Pontius Pilate do? He washed his hands. So women are very good communicators, but the issue is that when they are not able to balance emotion with intuition, that begins to bring these challenges. Yes.
Wow. Well, I believe that you're scribbling something down, maybe your question or your contribution. If you have been a victim of a verbal abuse situation, would like you to also share it with us here. I'd like to catch my breath here, because seriously, I wish I was going to be hearing that, no, the women are not verbally abusive. It's the men, rather. They both go physical and verbal. But, Charlie, the women too, some kind of are. When we come back, we'll get to know what exactly those verbal abusive situation moments are. We'll get to understand. And if you're a victim, you would really, really need a breakthrough. And if you are a culprit, you have to put a stop to it. Please do not go away. Stay tuned. Back if you have just tuned in, this is Home Affairs. My name is Gladys Osei Oredu, and we are talking through the topic women who are verbally abusive. So women as verbal abusers. Okay, so let me quickly get to our diary, our reference for this conversation. So she says, Dear Gladys, I have lived the adult part of my life being a very vocal woman. Now, what I felt was a blessing earlier is fast making me lose myself and the very people I so desire to keep close. All of this stemmed up from the fact that I grew up seeing my mother being abused by my father. Even when I wish she had told me whether it was physically abusive or verbal. Okay, but her father was abusive. Even when she was right, she dared not talk. I thereby vowed to be a different woman when I grew up. Truth be told, that decision was quite beneficial to me as far as my career and my social status were concerned. I got married to the kind of man I always wanted. But I recently noticed that he has taken a back step in everything, even proposing a lovemaking session. His excuse, he's avoiding the characteristic fights every now and then. Recently, I saw a chat on his phone of him confiding in a lady friend about his troubles in the home. I am getting scared. What if he warms up to this woman? I have developed the habit of being so vocal that I have fought with my friends for speaking about the issue. I want change. What do I do? And that's coming from you, Amanda, in Tema. So, Ajia and Reverend, this is our reference for discussion. She saw her mother going through something she didn't want to also go through. So she decided that then she herself would take up that posture as defensive, so it doesn't even happen to her. I wish I really she had stated whether her father was being physically abusive or verbally abusive. However, there was an abuse situation in her home, and she vowed she won't go through that one. And as a result, she seemed to be losing out on her friends and marriage. She doesn't know what to do. Let me start with Ajaya.
It's a very worrying situation she's found herself in. Most often, we tend to ignore things that happens during childhood. As parents, we feel that, oh, the children don't understand, they don't comprehend. But it goes a long way to affect them. Children tend to observe, and when they are given the opportunity, they imitate. And sometimes, whether the behavior is reinforced or punished, there's a tendency that the person will take it up, especially if it's reinforced positively. The person will take it up on her or himself and feel that that is the norm. So in this situation, she's being both reactive and proactive as one of the reasons for her being verbally abusive. Okay. Then there's an element of jealousy, which is also another, and insecurity. In the statement, which is also another reason for being verbally abusive. But I feel that the primary factor is the reactive and the proactive reasons of her abuse, because she has seen it happening to her mom. So, and she has realized that she has to live a different path. So she's being a bit aggressive about it. And it's also making her feel that she really has to be, you know, there's a thin line between assertiveness and being rude or arrogant, or being the type that is always wants to be heard, in order to stand on the person's authority. I think that she has found herself, that childhood predisposition has found itself in her adult life. Definitely she needs help. Then the insecurity and jealousy has also complicated the issue. And this is, if she doesn't go in for help, would reoccur over and over again, because now she will feel that there's a threat. So there should be a honeymoon situation. Oh, I will not insult him again. But after some time, maybe the messages would bring about tension in her and make her more frustrated. Then the outburst will start again. So the cycle would keep continuing, and she will continue to be verbally abusive over and over again. And there is also a tendency of other abuses rising if she doesn't seek help. I really pity the man.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at the situation, I believe one thing that we all have to understand is that you are a product first of your past, like she has said.
Yeah.
But you're also a product of the choices and the decisions you
Exactly.
make. We ought to be responsible about our actions and inactions, even verbal or non-verbal. You see that it's something that it has built on before she realizes this.
Yeah.
One thing that we always have to know is the effectiveness of communication. When I'm talking to Gladys, I must understand that after the conversation, you realize my personality. So you are the person behind what you say.
Yeah.
So you ought to be very careful. You are the person behind what you have said. We have quotes of people, what they said, and we attribute it to them as what they believe or what they stand for.
Yeah.
3 words were enough for Winston Churchill to win the Second World War. Never, never quit. 3.
Yeah. Never, never quit.
That's all. So we always attribute. So the second thing we must also understand is that whenever you are communicating, relevance is of importance. What are you saying? It is relevant. Who are you talking to? Is your husband the person you love? So should you use words that are unpalatable? Look at the environment. Where are you communicating? Amongst friends, or in a home, or among, what is the setting? What are the audience? Who are you talking to? Your children? What words are you using? So you must understand that relevance is of importance. And 3, the next thing that we ought to always have to understand is wisdom. Wisdom is very important in communicating. The kinds of words that you use, they are letters, but you can bring it together to heal a wound and at the same time to destroy a person. When you use abusive words for your husband, words never die. Words. In the Bible, it tells you that my words that I speak to, they are spirit and they have life. In science will tell you that whatever you say, it's in the waves.
Yeah.
It goes and it comes round again. So what are you saying? What do you intend to say?
Okay.
When you are angry, it is better not to communicate, not to talk. At least just relax a bit and just have a reflection about what you are saying. Just pause a little. That will be a check for you not to use unpalatable languages and words.
I want us to go very basic and help. You know, when I am a corporate, I don't easily understand the things that you are describing to me that I actually do. So for convenience, I'll still seem confused about it. So let's just make life easier for both corporates and victims. When we say verbally abusive or verbal abusers, who are they or what is it?
It's just it can be a male, a female, a child or an adult.
This one we have given it to the women already. So you, a woman verbally, who is a verbal abuser, who is she?
Exactly. It's just somebody who has a problem with her self-esteem and feels that the only way she can control power and attention is through insults, making the other person feel down and low and ugly. In fact, most verbal abusers, they see their victims as the ugly side of them. That they have to, that they have to deal with to repress and sideline. Yeah. So, and most often too, they tend to see themselves rather as the victim.
Okay. Yeah.
In order to be able to explain their behavior and in order to continue to abuse the actual
a kind of justification.
Good, the actual victim. Oh, because he did this to me, that is why I did it that way.
Sometimes it even happens that she's read ahead, and so she's reacting before you even take the action.
Exactly, exactly. So these are things that naturally people who are verbally abusive possess. Aside the fact that, well, she's giving us one angle, that is, she saw her parents being abused.
Yeah, her mother being abused.
If you go deep down and assess her well, there's a tendency that she has a personality that makes her predisposed to abuse.
Maybe she took after her father, who was abusing the mother.
It could be that she has this narcissistic personality, that she feels that she has this grandiose perception about herself. Okay. She's above the person, she's more important than the person, and other factors that could be there for a long time. Some people grow, but they never get off their parents' apron. They are being over cared for. That is inappropriate for their age. Okay. And when that happens, the person feels that everywhere he or she finds,
it has to be like
same. It has to be me and nobody else. And when I speak, everybody must listen.
Yeah, I'm the final speaker.
Exactly. Yeah. So the person would want to put out strong words, first to get your attention, second to make you feel you are nobody.
Yeah, reduce you to nothing.
Exactly. That has to do with the person's personality. And if the other partner were to be around for us to hear his side of the story, or other people who knew her very well, they would say that, oh, baby, this lady, she has too much grandiose perception about herself. And then every now and then, maybe she is very paranoid. She thinks that, oh, the way this man is looking at me, he meant this. Yeah. Always making implicit decision without giving you the opportunity to say it. Even if you say it that way, no, you don't mean it that way. I perceive it in this way, so I must react. So it's always...
She won't even say perceive. She will say, this is actually what, but you are just denying.
Exactly, exactly. So these things don't come out of nothing. It has to do with the person's personality. Perhaps she could also be having challenges with social personality disorder. Maybe she's antisocial. The person does not see, the values is a bit compromised, and the person does not see anything wrong with lying, putting another person down. Not one-time lies, but persistent. In every conversation, you study her well, you realize that, oh, this girl there, she overbloats the statements, she brags, and constantly she wants to lie or cheat
to your table,
get away.
And they themselves have no idea
how. And the unfortunate thing is that they don't come out like tigers for you to see and run away. They are the charming type. They have very interesting, charismatic attitude that everybody would want to have. It is a strategy to get their prey, to trust them. And once the person gets hooked to you, then now the real character appears. Then when the husband or the male partner goes about explaining, nobody will believe him. Oh, this lady,
sweet lady.
Oh, she's so sweet. She's nice. How can she say that? How can she be disrespectful
when she's even there, she will
and
cry.
It makes it more complex for the man. And constantly the person would repress, would want not to talk about it because nobody will believe him. It's not true.
Sometimes they actually begin to find why they even think it was said to you.
Exactly. People tend to be apologetic for the abuser's behavior. And by the time you realize things have gone very murky, and only God can save the situation.
Sometimes when they even get abusive and you point it out there, and then they change their mouth. Oh, but how else did I say it? I even said, they'll even go ahead and I even said the very thing you've played back at them, they'll tell you, they'll repeat. But I even said it this way, so why are you saying that one too is not proper?
That antisocial attitude is playing.
Rev.
Now, I will use these 4 words.
Okay.
One, the person is reacting out of immaturity. The second one is insensitivity. The person is not sensitive to the other partner.
Okay.
And is reacting out of immaturity. The third one is insecurity. When you are dealing with insecure people, the person may look very nice, but within the person's self, there's no self-confidence. There is that mediocre status of a person.
Yeah.
So she thinks that by coming out, that brings me to a certain level of expectation in my social status. So you find such people being very violent in their speeches, more especially in our political circles.
Yeah.
You find people, I mean, you ask yourself, what is he trying to say?
Being no trouble.
Exactly. What do you want to say? So you find people, because of their insecurity, they are communicating their insecurity to demonstrate that what they are doing, they really don't know what they are doing. The second thing is that in communications, 2-way affair, whether verbal or non-verbal. Have you thought about the repercussions of what you are saying or doing to the other partner? If the person is insensitive, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
He does not care. But if the person is sensitive, you be careful in the words that the person chooses.
Yeah.
And when you have people who are also reacting because of immaturity, naivety, and ignorance, they are killers.
Yeah.
Because, you see, when you are naive, you tend to think that what you are saying is the right thing, is correct.
Yeah, it's 100%.
As if sometimes I don't know whether you have come across such a person. That person is communicating, and whatever he's saying is childish.
But very confident.
Very confident in saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that person thinks that she's saying the right thing.
Yeah.
And on that occasion, maka. And you find out that that person has really messed up.
Yeah.
Because that person is not matured enough. I think in our society, it is high time that we begin to look at how to interrelate with people.
Yeah.
So we understand how we need to interrelate with people, whether it's my spouse, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a friend, or it's a child, or an elderly person. You know how to communicate. When we are able to have these learning methods of how to communicate, it will bring that consciousness of how we socially interact with people. When we have that, it will reduce how people verbally abuse others. When it begins to happen that way, you become the only odd one amongst many.
Yeah.
But when the society begins to hail people who are vociferous of a type, whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense, we don't really care. All that we care is that you are able to say it forcefully, whether what you are saying is going to hurt somebody or not, we don't. I believe it's high time that we will need to look at effective communications amongst us and our society and social integration.
Okay, so what I would like us to look at is how to deal with verbal abuses. And if you have them in your home, or especially if you even have such a person as your boss or as your leader or at your workplace, how do you deal with people like that? But particularly people in position. So the home, at the workplace, in the community or a group. If such a person happens to be the team lead, how do you deal or manage such a person? But we'll do that when we come back. So if you have just joined, this is Home Affairs. Let me quickly say thank you to my dear Elegance for my beautiful outfit. I'll come again for more. But of course, I need you also to look beautiful. So please look out my dear Elegance on Facebook and Instagram and choose what you like and go for it. I'll give you the number before I leave here. When we come back, I'll open the phone line so you send in your comments, your contributions, or if you want to report a verbal abuser, please, we are here. We'll catch the person. Report the person to us. Don't go away. Stay with us. This is Home Affairs. I'll open the phone lines in a moment. Or probably I should just do that right away. So the phone line is 0302-211-701 702-703. Please give me a call. Report that verbal abuser and let's work on that person because they are not pleasant to live with. As far as I am concerned, a woman, today it is the women we are talking about as the verbal abusers. A woman should be pleasant. God made us to talk. We are talkers, naturally talkatives. And so if you are a talkative and all you use your talk to do is to abuse, then seriously, you are a nuisance to community or society. And so women, we ought to be very sweet. We ought to open up and be very more approachable and be listened to. Do not let your words hurt or wound. Do not let your words be nasty or very provocative. Please use your words to build. Use your words to develop. You cannot be physical. So please, your words, in addition to your strength as a woman, should speak for you. Please give me a call, 0302-211-701-702-703. Let's get interactive here. But meanwhile, I want to get back to Reverend Enajia to find out. So if you have a verbally abusive woman who happens to be your mother or your group leader or your boss or any of such, I am not even concerned about my colleague because that's my colleague. I should be able to deal with him or her. But the one who is above me, who is verbally abusive, how do I manage a person like that?
First of all, what you have to do is to approach the person, bring the person's attention to that behavior so that the person gets to know that you are aware of his or her behavior. In case he feels that you are not aware, now you have brought his or her attention to it. This attention that you have done would give the person the opportunity to reflect upon her behavior. However, if you do that maybe once, twice, thrice, and you don't see change, what you do next is to look for a person the person respects. Any person of higher authority. It could be a close relative, a leader in the church, or the person's pastor or your superior, both of you, your superior. If to step in.
Okay.
If that does not work, what you have to do is that...
If that does not work, what we have to do, please, we'll come back to it. But we have Nanama on the line. Hello, Nanama.
Hello. I'm Wenite.
You are from ancient days.
Hello.
Hi, Nanama. You are definitely from ancient days.
This is your teacher from Forces JHS.
Oh, wow.
Mr. J.
Oh, wow. I'm blushing. Wow, it's good to hear your voice.
Your teacher.
Wow.
You remember me?
I do, Mr. J. I do.
I'm only congratulating you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been a long time.
Ages. It's been ages. Yes.
God bless you.
Amen. God bless you too. This feels good. My primary teacher.
That's great.
Yes. Okay, Ajia. So if all does not work, what do we do?
Most of the time, with the initial one speaking to the person, sometimes the person may admit, oh, I'm at fault. Oh, perhaps something has been bothering me, maybe financial challenges or all the other reasons we have given. Then the person opens the window for help. Okay. But if the person becomes defensive or tries to project that behavior rather to you, that, oh, it is your attitude that is making me that way. Oh, even Reverend doesn't see me as this way. Or how come no other person is complaining and only you are the one complaining? Then the person is not ready to change. And the best thing is to try and leave the person's environment or avoid too much situations that would result in personal confrontation
with the person.
But if you see that there's a window of opportunity, then the first option is to look for somebody the person respects.
To.
If that one too does not work, suggest to her in a nice way that, oh, maybe she needs to speak to a professional counselor or
if it's my boss,
a psychologist.
I can't say.
Oh, yes, you should.
If it's my mother, I can't say.
You should. You should. you approach it in a way that lets her understand that you are concerned about her and you want her to be a better person than she is. Okay. Not being judgmental. Oh, you have a problem. Ajay, oh, it is a personality problem. You have to go and see a psychologist. Not that angle. Reverend. Not that angle.
No, Reverend, so then I'll come and tell you that, Reverend, tell you don't talk well, so go and see a counselor. Hey.
It will be difficult. Now society becomes difficult. But I think the first thing I believe we have to do, we cannot solve problems from people's anger. Exactly. Solve it from your anger first. So
okay.
the first
Reverend,
thing,
please let me hold your mouth and quickly pick this phone call. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us on Home Affairs.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear you out.
Okay. I'm in the same situation as you are discussing.
Okay.
Yes. My husband really abuses me verbally.
Your husband rather abuses you verbally?
Yes.
Chala, well, you see, God, no, I don't know the heading. Don't mind me. Yeah.
It has, and then it has even aggravated to physical abuse now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. And as Aja was saying that if you try to solve it by talking to maybe somebody he respects and all those things. I've tried all those things. And even now, he doesn't even want to go to the people that he feels shy of. I think you'll be able to solve your problem for. So now what do you do? Because it has gotten to the extent that he has abused me so much, and now I also tend to retaliate. Yes, at first I was quiet, but now, no, you say I say, you say I say, and now it has turned to
when he beats you, do you also beat him?
So what do you do?
No, you said it's also gotten physical. So he says you say, when he beats you, do you beat him too?
Yes.
Hey.
And then definitely as a woman, you get the hint. You get the thing because he is a stronger man, a stronger person than
and their children.
So you think you are fighting back, and then I don't know. The last time it happened, I got hurt seriously and decided not to do it again. I decided to advise myself.
What's your name, please?
My name is Baba.
Baba, are there children?
No.
How many years have you been married?
3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
I'll leave your case for Ajia to attend to, but let me quickly pick our next caller. Hello. 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 Okay, Ajia, let's talk about Baba's situation. I was concerned if there were children, because then there's a very wrong precedent.
Even if there are children,
even if there are no children,
the problem still remains. It is a serious problem that she has to address. You know, there's one thing with abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or verbal, whichever it is. Once it starts, and the person is not ready to be on the same platform with you, that it's a problem and we have to deal with, it doesn't stop. The best
Please
option,
make it snappy for me, though, so
the best option is for her, both of them should see a psychologist separately.
Well, in a case where the woman is the one talking, she's ready to see a psychologist. I doubt if the man will be ready.
The best thing for them as at now, especially now that it has escalated to physical abuse, is separation. Both of them must separate so that they need a break. Then it will give them time to reflect upon their behavior and assess the relationship to see whether it's worthy of keeping it or backing out. Because otherwise, more serious physical abuse could happen. And one day, he may pick something and hit you, and you will never wake up again. The abuse keeps
aggravating
and intensifying. There's nothing like, oh, he's sorry, he has apologized, tomorrow it will stop. Tomorrow's own will be worse than what happened yesterday.
Because I did it before, and so it shouldn't have even happened. Perhaps there may be something that attracts the abuse.
I think what the girl needs is, first of all, she needs tolerance. Because when you become impatient, that culminated in the reaction. The second thing is that there's a very root cause where the man has now started being abusive. We begin to see that it started from verbal. Then it's becoming physical. So there's a root cause. If you don't get to the bottom of it, could be maybe because the woman hasn't got a child. or maybe the man has seen a certain, it could be something that is bringing that thing. So if you don't begin to find out, you'll be solving the problem from a wrong angle.
Yeah.
The third thing that we need also to realize is that when people are being abusive and you are not able to deal with them, it is time that we begin to use wisdom. Avoid a situation that exchange of words come.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I feel for say a do be anywhere change Johnny?
My father taught me same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
run away from the problem.
Sadly, this
so that you fight, no, run away.
Run away from it.
There won't be any scar to remind you.
That's all. Sometimes a little breathing space will let that which we are fighting over just die away off.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you have to apply wisdom in this sense, move away from situations and conditions that bring about these things. In 4, the next thing you need to do is that there is always a timing when you speak people here.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll be communicating, but we are not communicating at the right time.
Okay.
So you must find appropriate time that when you speak, it's not about the length of the communication, but it's about the quality of the things that you are saying. How do you go about it? First, every man needs his respect and honor. Darling, you are the best person I'm married to. You have done this, and I cherish so much. I salute you, I celebrate you for that. But I have realized that there are certain things that when we begin to work towards, it will help our relationship to grow better and get better. And one of such things is that I think the way when you get angry, the way you react, I think sometimes it becomes repulsive a bit. So if you can tone it down. When you begin to, every person, no matter who that person is, you'll be listening.
Yeah.
Because first, you honor the person. Second, you find an appropriate time that you could communicate.
Yeah.
When you have done all these things, if it's not a relationship, if it's not husband and wife or otherwise, then you have to make a decision and a choice.
Yeah.
In such decisions, you must maybe stay away a bit. I wouldn't want, because of this situation, you just back out and separate.
Yeah.
But you must find a way of bringing that gap. Because words, when words are like seeds, when you sow it in people's mind, sometimes they will go and reflect upon it. Then when they come to their senses, they begin to act appropriately.
Okay. I don't know if this will sound right, but I also think that sometimes verbal abusers they think ahead of you. And so they feel that this action you are taking, you actually meant to do A, B, C, D. It is not what you're doing. So if we can all make an effort to take people by their words, couldn't that also build a better community or relationship?
Now,
but we have just 1 minute to talk about this, though.
Sometimes people say things and they don't mean it.
Okay.
So an attitude is an attitude. Once it becomes an abnormality, the person needs help. No matter how nice you try to be with the person, no matter how submissive you try to be with the person will always find a reason to abuse you. That is why I always say that once the person is abusive, it's not once, it's not twice, the person needs help. And you separating, it's not for you for the relationship to die off.
It is just to give each other breathing space to readjust.
First and foremost, for avoiding escalating abuses. Sometimes people go to counseling. Oh, we have prayed over it. We have spoken about. Go home. The person gets to the house, even asleep or bathing, and the other abusive partner just hits the head and the person dies. So the safest thing is for them to stay apart whilst helping the abuser and then the victim
to rebuild.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it is not safe for them to be together, especially if it has escalated to physical abuse.
Baba, I wish you well, but learn to just exercise patience a bit. Please do not equally get aggressive. It won't help the situation if you really want your marriage. Somebody has to be the fool. And if it's easier for women to be the fools So that is the role you need to play at the moment, if it still doesn't work. But meanwhile, yes, you need the counselor to assist you to rebuild. This has been Home Affairs. My name is Gladys Osei-Oredu. Of course, my outfit was provided by My Dear Elegance. You can check out My Dear Elegance on Instagram and Facebook. We are here same time next week with another intriguing topic that will shape up your home and your lifestyle. God bless you all, and thank you. Keep watching Joy Prime.